Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome back to the review show where we have a look back at everything that happened over the weekend in boxing. This weekend, that was a busy one. Naoya Inoue in Las Vegas, the New York Ring Magazine card, and Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull in Saudi Arabia. With all that said, let us know down below what your favourite fight over the weekend was. It's a bit of an easy one, isn't it, boys? There was only one that entertained, and it was, of course, the monster Naoya Inoue. He's just a bit good, isn't he?
Yeah, we said last week, didn't we, that was going to be the best fight?
I think we might have to get a fact check on that one.
We definitely said Cardenas had half a chance and was going to knock him down.
I'm pretty sure you said you weren't interested in this because it was it was too easy.
Cardenas actually surprised me, but how many times has Inoue been hit with that left hook?
Twice.
No, yeah,
Twice.
Exactly.
Do you know what it is, though?
Twice knocked him down, and what I liked about it as well was his father's reaction to it.
Yeah,
He was just shocked, like, hang on a minute, what have you done just there? But now that fight delivered, and I think obviously we're going to talk about the other cards, but the less said about them, I think the better at the moment, because they did not deliver. But now Naoya Inoue in Vegas, not in Japan this time around, he still delivered, and just what a fight. That was, for 8 rounds, that was a lot better than all the other cards combined, I think, this weekend.
Without a doubt. And I think, do you know what, some of that does have to go down to Cardenas. We'll get onto it a bit why, but it's also almost always about who's in front of you. And without them in front of you, you can't have a good fight. You know, we saw that with Canelo and Scull. That was a boring fight, and it was nothing really to do with Canelo. It was entirely to the fact that William Scull just didn't fancy a scrap, and it's like, do you know what, fair enough. But Cardenas came to bite down on his gum shield and have a go. I was saying to you just beforehand, that shot from Cardenas to knock him down in the second is such a nice shot. If you watch the slow-mo of it, the way he just slips under that lead hook and lands one of his own right on the button, and Inoue was in for a fight there. But fair play to him, because he could have just easily gone on the back foot, been really boring, and just boxed him, collected it, but he thought, nah, do you know what? Nah, I'm not Inoue, I'm going to have a scrap here. And he beat him.
I think that's what everyone likes about Naoya Inoue is, when you watch him, you know you're going to be in for a good fight, and especially when he gets knocked down, you know, okay, now the monster's going to come out in a way. But no, Cardenas shocked me in a way, because like, you compare that, his opportunity to what William Scull had, he took his opportunity, I thought, Cardenas, and wanted to try and make a name for himself on Saturday night. And that's what you want to do against people like Inoue, where you've got this opportunity to go at the best fighter in the division. You have to, and you want to showcase your talent, and he did that, and I was very impressed by him. And you know, I said last week I wasn't really interested in the fight. People were saying, oh yeah, we're looking forward to it. I was looking forward to seeing Inoue. I wasn't looking forward to seeing the fight, I was just looking forward to seeing him back out. But after seeing that fight, and like I said, all the other fights we've had, my God, that was fight of the weekend. And the Cardenas, the shot that you were talking about, he seemed to feint it beforehand and probably just clocked, oh, I can get him here again. And the way he connected, and there's a shot from someone in the stands that you can see, incredible.
I've seen it. It's so good.
Incredible. And he can come back from that. You know, we always talk about fighters who fight the best in their divisions. They can always come back, and Cardenas is that sort of fighter now that will take a lot from that fight. And I thought he was, you know, good work by the corner as well, because after that second round he didn't have no success, and did he? Apart from maybe
it was the ref that
round.
stopped it, though, wasn't it?
I think the corner though said, if you don't get through this round, you're taking too much punishment. We'll save you for another day.
I think it was impressive from Inoue as well. It was a good shot, but I think he overcommitted, and he was feeling confident. He went for him, overcommitted, got caught with what was a good shot. But what impressed me was his second time being knocked down, but the composure he showed. He knew he'd got caught with something good, but took the full 8 seconds to compose himself. You could see him looking at his father just to say, right, he got me there, but let's reassess. It was obviously the last few seconds of... I didn't think he was in overall massive trouble. I didn't
think he was actually hurt.
If there was about a minute left, I think he would have navigated it and got himself back to the corner. But yeah, just the composure in that moment, obviously under big pressure when you've just been knocked down, to just take the full 8 seconds, reassess where you're at. And he showed exactly why he's one of the best fighters in the world, and he come back strong, knew what he needed to do, and really started to dominate from the third round onwards. And I think the stoppage was inevitable at that point. He started to apply the pressure, And once he got him up against the ropes and in those corners, he was in big trouble, Cardenas.
Yeah, it was a rare mistake from Inoue, wasn't it, really? You know, the magic of him is those little kind of like half steps, the footwork in and out of range, and the way he's able to keep the opponent where he wants them so that they can't land the shot they want to land, but he can still do the work he needs to do. And like you say, he just rushed in that a little bit too much, got a little bit keen. He had landed a good shot at the end of the first and had a lot of good shots throughout the second, which Cardenas rode well, to be fair. He took the shots, and I think he was just building momentum, but because Cardenas was soaking up the damage quite well, he was just able to land that one big shot, and you know, fair play to him. You mentioned Cardenas fighting one of the best in the division, but do you think he's fighting the best in the world? Are we safe to say that now, or do you still think Usyk holds that ground?
It's close between them two.
The
thing I like about the both of them is, you know, they're entertaining. Unlike some other fighters we've seen this weekend, you know Inoue is going to be in a good fight. Usyk, over his last few fights, have been entertaining. I think sometimes that's what boxing fans want. It's all well and good being one of the greats, but sometimes you need to be entertaining as well. And if you're not entertaining the fans, you're not going to be looked upon probably as favourably as some of the others.
Yeah, I do think so. And what's so impressive with Inoue is 30 wins, 27 by knockout, and without trying to make this anything crazy, but this is a Japanese bantamweight that is a superstar. You just don't really hear of that. You know, it's always been the American heavyweights, the Mexican middleweights, you know, people like this that are these huge superstars, and that we've got a 130-pound Japanese man who is probably the top 3 biggest names in boxing, top 5 biggest names in boxing.
Yeah, 100%. And we're looking at a list here on BoxRec, and there's one name missing on there, and you go down to number 5. David Benavidez is number 5 on the BoxRec rankings for, was it pound for pound?
Yeah, and then where have they actually got
Usyk's 15.
Usyk?
15.
It's not great, but it's this sort of you know, as fans we add an added weight to the heavyweight division because it's so exciting, and to do what he did moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight is something that in the stats and the algorithm that BoxRec will use won't show up, but that is very impressive.
So are we in agreement then that it's Usyk, Inoue, after this weekend's performance, Crawford, Canelo?
No.
Okay.
I think it is Inoue, Usyk.
Okay. Crawford?
Even then, you know, Crawford's performance against Majimov didn't set the world alight, particularly after Majimov then went on to lose his next fight. I think I'd say Canelo number 3, and then realistically whoever wins between Canelo and Crawford is right up there, and then probably Bivol probably the man just outside of that. But I just think Inoue, to do what he's done at the different weight classes he's done it, continually move up, and we're talking about a man that if he moved up to featherweight, I wouldn't worry about him getting a loss on his record. There's no one at featherweight that overly concerns me in terms of if they were to beat Inoue. And then you're looking at a 4-5 division champion, and have cleaned out the best in the division. I think simply because he's in super bantamweight and maybe some of the names he's fighting aren't household names, they're still the best in their division and he's still beating them comfortably. I think on that basis, for me, and also just the eye test, he's so good. Like, he just looks perfect technically, just really unbelievable, so powerful.
Who next for him then? If you're
I
talking
think they've
about,
already got that fight sorted, didn't they?
I think September 12th, ain't it?
Akhmadaliev, and then Junto Nakatani, and then move up to featherweight.
Out of them two then, Nakatani and Akhmadaliev, who causes him the most problems?
Nakatani.
Okay.
Nakatani is a better fighter. He's at bantamweight, so he'd have to move up, but he is a better fighter than Akhmadaliev. And if those two fought, I would be confident that Nakatani would probably get the win.
I think Inoue stops Akhmadaliev, to be honest. Are they planning on putting that on the same card as Crawford Canelo, or have they not?
In America?
I think it's
maybe.
Well, is that meant to be September 12th? Because that's where that's what MJ said that was going to happen. That's a hell of a fight.
I think Crawford Canelo is Friday night in Vegas, innit? And I think it could possibly be on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
Because it's got the involvement with TKO, which obviously...
Dana White's promotion,
Yeah, so I think that could be a Netflix card. I don't know whether Inoue will also land on that, because that seems pretty big of a card.
Yeah, it would be. But you just to go back to what you said there, that that's a big fight. I think it's been promoted well. I don't think it's noticeably a better fight than most of Inoue's last 3 or 4. It's just that they've managed to spin the narrative that he's avoided him, which he just isn't, let's be real.
And then for
no,
Cardenas, how about him and Lewis Neri?
Be a good fight. I mean, Neri's moved up to featherweight, hasn't he? Or he's up at featherweight now. Be a good fight, though. The battle of the ones that put Inoue on his arse.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. I would watch it.
It's a good way to sell it, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, boys, as much as we would love to, we can't talk about Inoue all day.
You can tell we've been stalling this bit of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about the other fights. Now, I didn't stay up for these. I did sleep through them. I didn't fall asleep watching them, unlike somebody.
Well done.
But I suppose we'll start with Canelo Scull, because we've kind of teetered around it.
God.
Canelo did the job he needed to do, didn't he? But Scull didn't really turn up to fight. He saw that filthy Saudi money and thought, yeah, I'll take that and run. Literally.
I just don't understand though, as an IBF world champion, you're happy to just go in there for 12 rounds, knowing that
$80 million.
You are, yeah.
That's how.
I know the money.
He got paid 80 million.
I don't know. I think I saw that somewhere.
Bloody hell.
It might be wrong. It might have been 8
I'm not being
million,
funny, man. If I've been offered 80 million to fight Canelo Alvarez, I'm running around. I won't.
Well, realistically,
But-
I don't know what the number was, but they have paid Scull to take the loss, really.
Yeah, but he's
he knew he
he's
was
a
gonna
world
lose.
champion and he's running around a ring.
Yeah, but he's
come
not
on.
running around. That is slightly disrespectful, because it is a style of boxing. It's not like he was avoiding conflict. He wasn't. He was fighting. He was boxing. It just wasn't a fan-friendly style. It's that Cuban, boxing style. And I suppose who are we to say that if he'd gone on and won that fight against Canelo, then we'd all be saying, do you know what, fair play, like, get the bag, you've done what you had to do. It's the fact that he lost it, and Canelo wasn't good enough at cutting off the ring that made that a disinteresting fight.
Yeah, it just weren't a great weekend for the Ring magazine cards. We'd get on to the Friday night, but I thought, surely it can't get no worse than that.
It can.
And then we got to the Saturday, but I paid £35 for both cards, but if I had illegally streamed it, I still would have felt ripped off.
Yeah. I did. I did illegally. I do feel ripped off.
It was that type of weekend.
Yeah, it's a weird one. With that Canelo fight, obviously we've got the Crawford fight next, which is an exciting fight, and we imagine that will not look anything like that. But do you think Canelo's stock has dropped a little bit from that performance? Like, that is the kind of
100%.
feeling.
No, I
Beforehand,
don't think so.
took Galashakes in the changing room, go into him, face off. You're going to do a face off after the fight. His mind was already on the Crawford fight, and I think when you have that in the back of your head, you're thinking, right, I'm not going to get damaged here because I've got potentially the biggest payday of my life coming up against Terence Crawford in a couple months' time. I'm not going to do... If I can stay at distance and win this in a boxing match and instead of getting into a fight with him, which it turned out to be, then he'll do that, and he did it. And I was just... I don't know what it was with Canelo, but it was just... You wanted to see more from him because you know the level that Canelo is at. He's in the top 5 pound for pound, top 3, etc. But he didn't show that on Saturday night. And all right, it takes 2 to tango with William Scull having to also do his part in the fight. But when you have something, a bit of a stinker like that, and then when you look at the scorecards as well, 115, 130, 116, 112, you're thinking, hang on a minute. If one round goes down and another round goes the other way, it could have been a draw. It could have been an absolute nightmare for Canelo on Saturday night. And I know this is going to sound stupid what I'm about to say, but them fighting, I think, what was it? For us, it was like 5 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m. over in Saudi Arabia. I think that didn't help the card as well because of the time zone difference and everything. I think Canelo, before he left, I don't even think they stay in hotels over there. I think it was like a massive villa he had. He had a cold plunge to wake himself up at midnight, and then he went to the arena. With that added on, you just think, it was just an underwhelming performance, underwhelming night. But the best thing to come out of this weekend is what happened after that main event, when he had both of them in the centre of the ring. Obviously, I don't know if you boys seen it, they were struggling to get the Ring magazine belt out of the whatever the
Case.
Yeah, the case they had, and when they faced off, you were like, yeah, this is a good fight now, and we're going to talk about it, but I'm very excited for that fight now. And after that performance, I think I give Crawford more of a chance than I previously did.
I do agree with that. I do think Crawford, with Canelo unable to show how you're able to cut off the ring like you maybe would have expected a high-level fighter to do so, you do give Crawford more of a chance. But equally, I think it might be a case of, you know how like in the FA Cup, if a Premier League team plays a League Two side, they don't look great.
Eddie Hearn, yeah.
They have to get the job done, but they don't look great doing so. And I think it might have been one of those that it's just a performance where he hasn't looked great off the back of who he's fighting, the awkward height difference, the style, blah, 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 blah. And that Crawford fight is going to be bang up for it. So,
Unbelievable.
What does that look like though as a fight?
What, Crawford?
Canelo? Like, what does that style-wise look like?
What interested me was from the face-off, they didn't look that different in size.
That's what I was.
So he had some big
on about,
platforms on mine, Canelo. He is a bit shorter than Crawford.
Yeah, but I think it'll be interesting for me how Crawford adapts to obviously going 2 weight sizes bigger. If he feels comfortable at that weight and can move quickly enough, and also will need to probably be able to take the power of Canelo, someone who's naturally bigger. I think if he can handle the power that he's throwing at him, it'll make for quite an interesting fight then, because they should be near enough level on par in terms of boxing IQ wise. It's just whether Canelo is going to be too big for him on fight night, and that power is going to lead to Crawford just thinking, right, I'm going to have to just move and try and land punches where I can, and then it's a case then of whether he's going to be able to do enough to win a fight over 12 rounds. But I think that's the major thing, is the power aspect of Canelo, whether he can handle that power.
I think what's interesting about it though is that Canelo himself is not a natural middleweight.
No.
He is a natural welterweight that over the course of his a long career, mind, has moved up to super middleweight. And how much of a super middleweight is he these days? That's the question. If he is a genuine true super middleweight these days that could get nowhere near middleweight, like bear in mind he made light heavyweight for the Bivol fight, but then Crawford could be in some weight issues with that. But if Canelo's not this natural super middleweight and maybe he's on the smaller side, then it could be that Crawford has every shout. And yeah, it will be interesting to see, and I'm sure we'll do a nice deep dive on it on the week before that.
I think Crawford walks around naturally at probably super middleweight level anyway.
Yeah,
so it wouldn't be a
the
case of him needing to cut weight or anything. So it'd just be making sure he's fit enough and strong enough for that weight. And with when's the last time he fought? Feels
August.
like
August
he's
last
had
year,
yeah.
Like he's probably he probably have known for quite a while that this fight is coming. So he's had a lot of time to adjust his body.
He's probably
to that.
moving up already. Yeah.
So it could turn out to be a much more interesting fight to watch compared to when we first heard about it a few months ago, I think.
Yeah, and before we move on to the card we're still putting off, let's do a sort of fight each from this card. I'll kick it off. Martin Bakole, man, he's let me down again. I think it's a case of, do you know what? His heart's not in it. He just doesn't have that same drive. I think it was. This is really. I forget the gentleman. One of the old coaching trainers said about Inoue, he fights like he's got $0 in his bank account. He fights like he goes home and there's no food left in the fridge. Martin Bakole's fighting like a man who's got everything he wants and more. He's getting paid like he's doing everything he wants and more. And unless you feed him a top fighter, you're not going to see the best of Bakole. And Efe Ajagba was just about at the level where if you're not at your best, he's going to cause you some issues. He is a good fighter. So I think that was the case of it. It just caused him some issues. I had it 95-95. I know a lot of people had it that 94-96 to Ajagba to win. I don't think a draw is something you can complain about necessarily. But if he wants to, be this boogeyman and this issue to the rest of the heavyweight division, like him and Billy have been claiming to be for so long, mate, firstly he needs to lose a bit of weight, but he also just needs to have his head in it when he's in there. Yeah,
I don't think a draw was like some people were like shouting robbery into. I don't think it was that bad. I had Ajagba win in 96-94, but I think the fact that he was quite standoffish at some of the rounds and did take quite a lot of punches, even if they weren't damaging, is what probably affected the scorecards. But like we said, Bakole's heart just isn't in it. I don't think. After that Jared Anderson fight, where he was 20 pounds lighter in that Jared Anderson fight compared to Saturday night, he's just taking the money and he's just happy to turn up, I think. And that's the issue now. You look at him coming up against any half-decent heavyweight. If he turns up in the shape he's in, fitness-wise where he's at, he's just not going to be able to perform at a level to beat those top heavyweights. So after that Anderson fight, they were looking at him as a potential boogeyman, but unless he really gets his arse in gear, I can't see him affecting anyone at that top level.
With the Joseph Parker fight, when we talked about his weight, we were like, fair enough, 24 hours notice. But to then come in again at 299 on Friday night, the Twitter world was going mental because everyone was just thinking, what is he doing? After Ajagba here, 240, he's probably thinking, hang on a minute, this man, if I get him past five, the fifth or the sixth, I'm in here. I can win this. And, I think Ajagba will be kicking himself when he woke up on Sunday morning, Monday.
It's a missed opportunity.
It was a massive missed opportunity because he was there for the taking, Martin Bakole. And like you boys said, he needs to, if he wants to be referred to that boogeyman in this heavyweight division again, he needs to start, I think, taking it more seriously is the way, and all right, the paychecks are nice, wearing the Gucci shirt and all that is great, but if you have aspirations of being a world champion and being what you claim you are, one of the best heavyweights in the world, you can't be letting a fighter like F.A. Ajagba take you 10 rounds, and pretty much I thought he beat him, Ajagba, but to have that happen, I think it's, in a way, it could be a rude awakening as well for Bakole. He could reflect on this and go, right, I can no longer be at 300 odd pounds, because when it came to fight night, he would have been over 300 pounds, surely. And what he needs to be thinking now is, does he take the rematch with Ajagba after what happened there on Saturday?
Just to prove it wrong?
Just to prove that it was an off night and everything?
Do you think the wake-up call should have come from that knockout, though?
That's my other thing. That
he wasn't in shape coming into that.
We didn't touch on this last week. 90 days.
And we do
the British Boxing Board of Control give you if you get stopped. Has there been 90 days since that stoppage loss to
because he was pulled?
Was he pulled?
Yes, Billy Nelson pulled him in that fight,
okay.
And so he wasn't stopped by the referee.
Okay. That makes more sense.
And therefore,
no, that's the other thing. Has he recovered from it?
I think he has. I think that was the kind of punch where 5 minutes afterwards he was probably absolutely fine. It catches you in that awkward area and your equilibrium goes. But yeah, it's a shame because I do love Bakole. I've been all aboard the Bakole hype train, but it needs to shed a bit of weight, the train, before it can carry on to the next station.
Ajagba's best work though was done when he was moving.
Yeah.
Like when he tried to stick in with Bakole and found himself up against the ropes, that was the only time that Bakole was getting any success. So I think, and I don't know whether that's down to fitness, and obviously over 10 rounds when you got someone like Bakole chasing you and throwing them big hands at you, it's hard to keep moving. You are going to be quite tired, but I think he's effectively shown a sort of blueprint to other heavyweights of how you beat Bakole, essentially.
Yeah, and I don't think it's easy though, because Bakole he wears you down with those body shots, and he's heavy-handed, and he could slow you down and stop you. But Ajagba rode those well and showed that, albeit you heavily criticised him because of a one controversial decision over Guido Villanello, he proved he's there or thereabouts in the heavyweight division.
And he deserves to come back now, doesn't he?
Arguably Africa's best, you could say, after that performance.
Yeah. And if you look at Bakole compared to everyone who's above him in the rankings, is there anyone there that you reckon he beats now?
Let's have a quick look, just to double check where they've got him on these rankings.
He's within the top 10.
I know there's a fight out there that I would love to see, him and Derek Chisora.
that would be very fun. This has Bakole in at 14. So Dillian White, I think he probably beats. Yeah. We know what happens with Michael Hunter. Hooney would be an interesting fight. Wardley would be a difficult fight.
He beats
Gassiev, I think he beats. And
Do
then
you think he beats Gassiev?
Yeah, and then I think Lawrence Okoli would be a difficult fight for Okoli at that weight. Fury, Joshua, Parker, Cavill, Dewarius, they could all
beat him.
On the balance of probability, you'd say would beat him. But yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to say. Maybe we'll have to do another little heavyweight at some point on a quieter week, have a look at the heavyweight division and see how it all stacks up. Another fight for us, Ben. Which one are you picking?
Brian Leon, I thought looked quite impressive in his win.
Didn't get the stoppage this time.
Is that the first time he hasn't got a stoppage as a professional? But I thought he was quite good. And I didn't realise Badou Jack 41 as well. And off a 2-year layoff has come back.
Every age of that, didn't he?
Did not win that fight.
Very close. Was it a split or majority decision?
Majority decision.
Yeah.
He did not win that fight.
But how much time do you think Badou Jack's got left for that WBC title?
I don't know how he still got it, if I'm all honest. Not just from that performance, but in terms of the last time he's fought and the fact that they've just kept him as the WBC champion. You know, we talked about how you said you don't think Chris Billam-Smith necessarily gets towards a world title. I think Chris Billam-Smith wins that fight comfortably.
Easily.
Oh yeah, he beats Badou Jack.
And you know, so there is still fights for the WBC World Champ. I don't think Badou Jack would go anywhere near an Opetaya or a Zerdo Ramirez fight. No. And realistically, the WBC should do what they should do.
Have they got a mandatory challenger WBC?
Don't know, if I'm honest. If I'm being entirely unprofessional, I have got no idea.
Well, just give him Chris Billam-Smith from a British and biased point of view there, I think. And
why not?
Listen, I thought, out of all the fights we had this weekend, I thought that was probably one of the better ones as well, because it was back and
Badou
forth.
Jack?
Yeah. And
well matched.
It was close. It was, like you said, well matched. And I think that that Noel is going to be probably kicking himself, because he's probably thinking, that's another opportunity missed. You know, we talked about Efe Ajagba. If he, you know, maybe started stronger or took a bit more advantage of a weaker opponent than what was in front of him, maybe we could be talking about a win here. But I think I personally had it 115-113 McCallion, and do we see the rematch there? You know, hopefully not, because
I don't care. If I'm completely transparent, I don't care.
Pops up out of nowhere.
Heavyweight. That was interesting. Now under with Billy Nelson as well.
Good performance. Very good. And there's a lot of good fights for him to have. Him and Jermaine Franklin, I would love to see.
I still want them to do the him and Bakole fight at heavyweight. I think it'd be a fun fight.
Him and Bakole at heavyweight. I think they need to try and get on at some point.
It'd be a really fun fight. That I think Bakole probably edges it on, I would say, but you never know.
That would be a good fight to put on the undercard of if they do Eubank Ben 2.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Stick that on as a co-main event, I think.
Or Fury Joshua if it happens.
Can I put my fight on there?
What's that one?
Jaime Munguia. Good to see him back in the winning bracket, and it was a good performance.
It was.
I thought he started slowly, but as the fight went on, and you know, obviously under a new trainer and all that sort of stuff, now he got the decision that, you know, last time out in Tijuana, he just showed what a massive upset it was, because Bruno Saras, he didn't have the same fighter, I thought, this time around. And again, that probably comes down to pressure in Saudi Arabia and all that, but Jaime Munguia back to winning ways. And what I like about it as well is he's a previous opponent of Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez has taken him under his arm and gone, right, this is what you need to do that, blah, blah, blah. And he's reaping the awards of it now. And he's kick-started his career, because I don't think he's that young, is he, Jaime Munguia?
Well, he's 44-2. I don't know the Mexicans start young, but I don't think you can get to that record and be too young. He's only 28, mind. He's still 28. Got time as a super middleweight. He's still got time.
The James Wade of boxing.
Yeah.
Listen, it was a good performance. And out of all the card on there, another Mexican, because we're going to tick them all off now, because we can't miss out this one. From the Olympics, made his professional debut, Marco Verde. Got the stoppage win.
Is he not Italian? No, he is Mexican. I don't know why I thought he was Italian. Got
the stoppage win, kicked off the night. Well, and there's me thinking, oh, happy days. This is going to be a lot better than Times Square. I'm going to stay up and watch this. Goes and boils the kettle, and then puts on Rex Rap. Oh my God, another decent performance there. Brian Leon, goes a distance, and then obviously then just goes boom, 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 boom. And then a little bit up with the Badou Jack fight, and then...
This was a classic Olympian turning over first performance, look in the dogs, wasn't it? It was that classic.
His opponent did not want to be in there.
No, do you know what? I don't blame him, because nor would I.
Yeah.
Nor would I.
Best card of the weekend.
It's time. We're going to have to talk about the Ring Magazine New York card. Unfortunately, I suppose, for many, there was no fans in attendance, so no one was at least bored live.
I think that killed it though.
I agree.
The fact that there was no atmosphere there at all with fans.
Seemed chaos as well.
It just didn't like.
Felt like a
For the
COVID
build,
event, didn't it?
for the build up of it, the whole spectacle of having it in Times Square and the photos we seen beforehand compared to what we actually had, I think just killed it. And I think Ryan Garcia
Said it was flat.
Yeah, in his post fight, it did affect, and it must have affected most of the fighters. Because they're so used to having that sort of energy around them, gives them that bit of a lift when they need it. I think that. I'm not going to put the full blame on why Ryan Garcia lost, but it definitely didn't help.
I think, well, the other reason why Ryan Garcia possibly lost is because he's no longer on anything. But we will leave that speculation. We'll park that speculation and say that Rolly Romero was quite good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just strong. He's quick. That little double lead hook to get the knockdown. It wasn't a big shot. It just kind of caught Garcia off balance with the doubling it up. I just thought Garcia looked really flat-footed. He wasn't at all. Everything was heel toe, really fat, and then he just doesn't have. Well. Yeah, he just doesn't have that sharpness. Then
that's an issue of inactivity as well, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, was it 14 months out of the ring, and you're coming up against someone in Romero who would have been highly confident coming into this, especially considering I know it was a long time ago, but with even like that sparring, he knows. Or would have certainly felt like he'd know how to get at Ryan Garcia, and he proved that he did on Friday night.
Well, there was one key ingredient that Rolly Romero used in order to win this fight, and it was that. For anyone on the audio version doesn't know what I'm doing, I've put my right hand up to my face to block that lead hook. We know it's Garcia's textbook shot, and if you watch the fight,
what the corner was going for.
Unless he was throwing a shot, Rolly Romero's right hand was glued to his chin. He reaped the rewards of it.
Yeah, he done really well to sort of navigate the range as well. He like you said, he had that right hand up, but he always had his sort of left hand out. He always knew where Garcia was, and Garcia just couldn't really get going at all in the fight. He just had no real luck. That second round, it was a second round knockdown.
Yeah.
That just, I think you could see the expression on his face just straight away. He was like, I'm in trouble here, and he never really got going from it, I don't think.
Yeah, it was a shame to see, because like we said last week, Ryan Garcia he's an exciting character to have in boxing, but if you're not going to perform like you need to, then that's what you're going to see.
Can't pre-plan ahead either in boxing.
No, you certainly can't do that, and we were obviously hoping to see a rematch, which I suppose we could still see.
It.
After Haney's performance, I think we do see that rematch.
See, do you know what? Albeit it was an absolute snooze fest. Again, I don't think Haney's performance was all that bad. He wasn't aggressive enough with his hands, and he didn't let his hands go enough, but he did still comfortably beat his opponent.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know what to expect from Haney. Like, he is going to be that type of fighter. That's the way he's always fought. But it can just be difficult to watch. Like, that was the fight that made me fall asleep.
Yeah, but you know what? Like you say, you know what you're getting. You can't really complain.
Oh no!
You know, it's like ordering a margarita pizza and then complaining it's got cheese on it. Like, you know what you're going to get. Devin Haney, he's not going to turn up to have a scrap. He's going to outbox them. He'll be on the back foot. It will be defensive. It won't be that fan friendly. But he doesn't care, because he's winning fights and winning titles and keeping himself safe. Other than the Ryan Garcia fight, obviously.
Part of me thinks that in the back of his head, he still had that Ryan Garcia fight there. With the sort of shots he was throwing and not throwing. You know, and I think he, at times, was a little bit afraid to maybe get hit. But, again, like Ben said, I went to bed after before that fight, because I thought, I can't be asked to stay up any longer than that, because I've seen a fireman fight a policeman. Blah, blah, blah.
That was fight of the night, I think.
I think that was fight of the night.
I didn't realise they were going to come in with head guards on.
It was amateur, wasn't it?
A close second, though. Teofimo Lopez shut us all up.
He looked
on
the dogs.
Friday
He looked
night.
really
He
good.
looked really good. His defensive work, I think, is very, very underrated. You know, the way he just puts his guard up all the time. He sees all the jabs and shots that Barboza was throwing at him. And listen, this wasn't a Barboza that was coming off a defeat, coming off a loss. This was probably the best Barboza we've seen. You know, the way he's put his career on the front foot, going to Manchester, beating Jack Cattrall, that's what we were all basing it off, I think. And, you know, Teofimo Lopez shut us all up. And put in a really good performance, I thought, and I think 116, 112 kind of reflects the. Was it? Yeah.
And then 118, 110.
Exactly.
It probably was.
It was that sort of fight where you can either score it close or you can easily give it to Lopez by a wide decision. But no, out of all those fights on that card, Teofimo Lopez is definitely the one that has got a lot of people talking about, because a lot of people doubted him before in that fight,
well,
us included. And he shut us all up now, and he's set himself up now for bigger and better fights down the road, which, you know, hopefully involves him potentially going to Alcatraz, which is the rumours, if Trump doesn't reopen it as a prison. So, no, it was as much as I loved it being in Times Square and the thought of me thinking, how are they going to do it all? And it was a bit like Instagram versus reality, wasn't it? You know, like you said, the walls they had up to, you know, so people in Times Square couldn't watch the fight. I thought that was a little bit like, oh, well, what's the point in it being there then if you can't open it up? And apparently there was over 200,000 people in Times Square whilst he was going on.
Yeah, but I'm fairly sure that's probably just a normal Friday evening in Times Square.
Exactly.
I think the problem was it was a novelty, wasn't it? And once the novelty wore off,
I think that's a once in a lifetime. I don't think we'll ever see it there again in Times Square boxing.
no, probably not.
It just didn't work the way they probably hoped. But
I didn't like the ring walks as well, I thought, because New York traffic, they weren't warming up literally by the arena. They were like 2 blocks over, and if you've ever been to New York,
Carnage.
being 2 blocks over means that's a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
But no, it was
that was performance of the weekend,
Yeah.
though, I think, from Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, he looked really good. I thought Barboza Jr. would have. The reason I predicted him was I thought he was going to be able to get hold of Lopez and kind of wear him down and beat him. But Teofimo Lopez's movement, he was just unable to get hold of him. Barboza, wasn't he? Just able to use the ring well, confident with the defence and done the business.
And dancing around as well.
Yeah, taking the piss a bit.
Yeah. And that's what you like
And
to
his
see.
father falling over as well.
Oh, talk about the best moment of the weekend. That right there was the best moment of the weekend.
Yeah, big
Where he's
knockdown.
trying to give him his son's instructions and the referee starts a 10 count in the corner. Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's mad. The biggest knockdown of the weekend was landed by the ropes.
Yeah, it's fair enough. So you said Teofimo Lopez, you reckon that Alcatraz card, but who at super lightweight do we see him fight? Let's have a look at the check the rankings up.
Who hasn't he fought?
Let's
though?
pick a fight. Ooh, Andy Hirooka I'd love. That'd be a good fight. Richardson Hitchens is obviously fighting. Adam Azim would be an interesting fight. Dalton Smith would be an
I
interesting
saw
fight.
an interview with Eddie and Ben Shalom. Apparently Azim and Smith are meant to be fighting soon.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight.
Yeah.
I like Andy Hirooka. I hope he gets a good fight soon.
Yeah.
He's the WBO Asia Pacific champ, so he's come through
Real
the
Matias.
WBO.
You could put him
It's
in.
Cambosos Jr.
He's moved up to welterweight.
He's
hasn't he?
fighting
moved up.
Hitchens and Haney in New York.
I was going
Oh, I
to say,
suppose he's
Hitchens,
moved
yeah.
back down then for Hitchens, but he moved up for his last fight.
it would be good for Lopez to probably try and get that one back, depending on... I'd expect Hitchens probably to beat
Puello?
him, but...
Teofimo Lopez Puello?
Yeah, it's a decent
If
fight.
Dalton Smith takes on Adam Azim.
It's an interesting. It's a good weight division. There's lots of good
Yeah.
fights around, but I think everyone's quite tied up at the moment, so it's
Yeah, that's the
difficult.
only issue, isn't it?
It's difficult to sort of pick a fight. It would be interesting to see.
And you've got obviously Jack Cashwell as well on social media on Sunday posting that he's got fight news coming. So
Yeah, we'll have
he's
to-
in that mix still. You know, Liam Parrow potentially. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Is it Haney Garcia rematch that we want to see?
Yes.
I think it's
think
the
it-
most exciting fight for both fighters.
Yeah,
now.
you can definitely still put that fight on. There's still very much the question mark there of, obviously with all the surroundings of the drug cheat accusations, whether if Garcia comes in now, can he perform the same way? Can Haney handle that left hook? Because realistically, all he needs to do is just keep that right hand right next to his head, which he didn't do in the first fight. But I still think they could sell that fight. Makes it a bit more difficult now after this weekend, not only because of Haney's loss, but also how fucking boring the Haney and his father are every week. But yeah, I think they still can sell the fight.
Do you not think though maybe possibly it makes it slightly more interesting the fact that Garcia's lost now because it has the narrative. Right, Garcia would just go, well, I spanked you last time, I'll spank you this time. Whereas now actually Haney can go, well, you couldn't even beat Rolly Romero, how are you going to beat me, sort of thing. And so it kind of creates a bit more another narrative to talk through.
I suppose you can just settle it as inactivity as well, though, can't you?
Yeah.
You could just say, look, I was out of the ring for 14 months, come back,
Yeah.
wasn't as sharp as I needed to be. I'll get ready for the Haney fight, and I'll prove that I'm the better fighter.
I don't think either man was particularly hurt this weekend either, so they can come through and get that fight on sooner rather than later, which is always nice. You don't want to wait things for ages and ages and ages.
No.
But ultimately, unfortunately, I can't even remember what we titled the YouTube video, but it was on paper going to be one of the best weekends of boxing.
I think we jinxed it, didn't we?
Yeah, I'd take a cold night down the Vale anytime over that. But it proves that you can make the best fights on paper, but ultimately they need to deliver in the ring. And you can make fights like Eubank Ben that aren't necessarily the best boxing fights for boxing fans on paper, but actually turned out to be a barnstormer.
We were on cloud nine, weren't we, when Eubank Ben finished? We were like, yes, this is boxing at its best. This is what we love. Oh, what? We got an incredible weekend coming up. Oh my God, we are getting treated to something in the last 7 days. And then to have that, it's like brought you back down to earth where you're like, yeah, okay, that stunk a little bit this weekend, but it is what it is. We've got a good weekend coming up.
I was going to say, and a British barnstormer, isn't it? So
I was going to say, hopefully the British fight show again why it's the best.
why British boxing's best.
Yeah.
I think we can say that confidently.
I think after this weekend that we've had with... Was there a British fighter fighting this weekend apart from... Reactball was one,
I'm
yes.
going to say Reactport and...
Was that it?
Yeah, I suppose so, on the big cards.
The only one... Yeah, the only one
And he
that-
won by knockout, so, that's what we
Says
do.
a lot. There's a theory there, I
It does,
reckon.
yeah. I reckon there's something in that. If you guys haven't already, then obviously subscribe or follow if you're on Spotify, listen to the audio version. You can also catch us on social medias, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So follow us, all of those different areas. TikTok as well, we're smashing it on TikTok. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on later on the week, like we just mentioned, for Anto Kachache Lee Wood, or Lee Wood Anto Kachache, I suppose it is, in Nottingham. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all later in the week.
Punches chance. Punches chance podcast.